Welcome to episode 16 of DataCube's free online training course. Today, as episode 16, we're talking about data connections in Google Data Studio. What can you connect to for free? What do you have limitations with? And what workarounds are there? You'll see, or maybe have seen, there's lots of third-party connectors. We're going to have a little skip through those and see what they mean and what sort of pricing is involved in using some of these connectors. Okay, we've fired up Google Data Studio. We have a brand new untitled report. Now the first thing we always need to do is add some data. So let's press add data. Now, we went through this on the first episode really briefly, but we've got 17 Google connectors at present. So these include analytics, ads, uploading a file by CSV, connecting into your BigQuery database, all these sort of things, ad manager, and you'll see they're all made by Google. So within them it all says by Google. And what you'll notice is some of these, that one I've already connected to, but just say we had a PostgreSQL database, you'll have to be able to authorize that, and that will come up with sort of signing into your account again, verifying who you are, and then being able to connect up. So this one, for example, uses a JDBC driver. It's all the connection is up and running by Google. It's all free to use, and it's all generally quite simple. I mean, I've had problems uploading CSV files, and it seems a little bit buggy. And I've connected up. So, for example, there you saw I have already connected up to YouTube. I actually do have some videos, so that would need to be refreshed. It's because I'm signed in as a different account. And yeah, they work quite well. But then we scroll down and we have these partner connectors. There's 227 of them. So first off, I think for most people, you can do what you need to do with just the Google connectors, these 17 ones. Most people have files in sort of CSVs. Most people have a database, so if they were tailoring their work to revolve around Google Data Studio, they might want to convert that into a BigQuery database. They might have the full Google stack, so they're using Google Ads for marketing, they're using Google Analytics on their website, and that provides a great solid base to be doing your research or your front end, your business intelligence. For example, I had a client come to me recently and they use SurveyMonkey, they use Facebook ads, they use Trello boards, they use all sorts of external data sources, but they're also interested in using Google Data Studio. They had played around with Power BI, didn't like it, absolutely fair enough. For their purpose it didn't really suit, and they also use Max, which is again another sort of hiccup on the Microsoft front. And they've had to play around with Tableau, but obviously there's the license cost of $70, I think it's $70 per user per month at the moment. And when you're sort of presented with a free solution like this, it seems something that's going to be having ongoing development, you're rightly so, you'd be interested in this solution. So let's explore some of these other connectors and see if it's actually worth your while, worth your trouble exploring them. So the first thing is build your own. So Google offers you the ability to actually build your own connector, which you can see here in this other tab I have open, and it does actually give you a step-by-step guide of how to define and create your own connector using this, what they've called as Code Lab. Now, I haven't actually done it myself personally. I think it seems feasible, but again, it depends who you are. Depends what level you're at and how much time and resource you can put into something like building up a connector. But there's 226 other options here, depending on your files or where your data is being held or where your data is coming from. And you can Google for things. So for example, if you want Trello, well, there's no obvious option. If you want SurveyMonkey, again, no obvious option. But there are a lot of companies in here, and there's ones that sort of reoccur and have reoccurring themes in this list. So I'm going to quickly take you through a few of those. Now, the first one on the list is probably the biggest company, and that's Funnel. Now Funnel are a big company. They don't just specialize in using Google Data Studio, but they're a big ETL machine, and they have hundreds and hundreds of connectors. So you're basically putting your ETL machine into the hands of a third-party company here to do that sort of hard work for you. Now, the pricing on Google Data Studio, from what I can see, doesn't differ to the pricing of the overall product. So I think for most people, they actually do their pricing based on how much you spend. So, for example, if you were spending, I think there was a good example somewhere on their website. If you were spending, I don't know, £10,000 a month on Facebook ads, £10,000 a month on Google ads, and so on and so on. It basically is your total marketing spend that you'll put into these different tiers. Now the cheapest one is £399 a month per organisation, and that's if you're spending up to £80,000 per month. So I think most companies, most people watching this video at least, would be in that lower category, and that's still quite a large amount of money to be paying out. Especially if some of the other business intelligence tools with more expensive monthly license costs actually include pre-built connectors into some of the services that Google Data Studio don't. So it's definitely worth weighing up the options of a more pricey BI tool that has some connectors already built in for you. The next one that reoccurs a lot is this Supermetrics. If you scroll through, you'll see that red and white logo quite a lot. And again, they seem to have quite a lot of product offerings and a lot of solutions. And interestingly, they actually have a pricing model specifically for Google Data Studio. So if we click on this, we can see there's different pricing bands again, and it tells you underneath what these are for. So if we scroll down and have a look at these, you can see if you had an individual, which was $39 per month, you get one user but only one data source connector. So you're paying $40 a month for one connector. So I think more feasibly is for smaller businesses, you'll have sort of 3 users that can use this Supermetrics ETL machine, and you can have up to 33 data sources, which is pretty comprehensive, and it comes in at $99 per month, which seems quite reasonable. Again, you have to weigh up whether another BI tool that is maybe slightly more comprehensive on the connection front is actually going to become cheaper than using something like Supermetrics. Lastly, the one that also comes up quite a lot with this orange logo is PMA, not positive mental attitude, but Power My Analytics. So if I take us over to there, now this seems to be the sort of cheapest option that I've seen so far. So for $30 per month, you can have one user and 3 data source connections. So that actually might be a good option for quite a lot of businesses. Just say they had SurveyMonkey and they had Facebook ads and they had one other connector, then this could be a feasible good option. $30 a month is going to be a lot cheaper than a lot of other BI tools that might have those connectors already inbuilt. And then the next package up is 3 users, so if you had a small team, and then it says an infinite number of data sources, which is interesting because if you click on their data connectors, it actually seems like there's not that many. They do some of the obvious ones such as Facebook ads, Instagram ads, MailChimp, PayPal, this is Snapchat, TripAdvisor, and some more niche ones. Seems to be maybe slightly influenced on the American front. But it does say here at the moment, don't see your data source here, contacts will build the integrations you need. And again here, if you don't see the integration you need below, we can build a custom connection for any platform you need. Whether there's an additional charge, I imagine there is, and how that fits into their pricing structure, I don't know. So I think for me, if you are using Google Data Studio and you have data sources that fit in the top 17, excellent. If you have time and the resource to maybe look into building your own connector, then that could be a feasible option. Otherwise, there are third-party developers that have already built ETL machines. They're usually companies that have already set that up to be building into databases, such as Funnel, such as Supermetrics. And then it's really about weighing up the cost, whether that is the best option or whether there are, for example, other BI tools that already have those inbuilt connectors for you. And then thirdly, the thing to consider is about whether it's best to be paying for an ETL machine that is feeding data straight into your BI tool. That's obviously going to put quite a lot of load on the tool. It's where all the transformation is going to happen. So if you have data sources that need some sort of ETL machine that you're willing to pay for, it's whether weighing up if it's worth buying that connector, or it's worth going for a full warehouse build where your ETL machine takes that data into a database, and then you can do your transformations, manipulations in there before putting the data back into something like Data Studio. So for example, you could use something like Funnel, you can use something like Stitch, you could use something like Matillion, that have a lot of connectors, and they can work up to something like Google BigQuery, and then your Google Data Studio can connect straight into that BigQuery, and you don't need to worry about any other connectors. So some good food for thought there around connectors, pricing, and other options before you spend out the money. So I hope that was informative. Thank you for your time. We will be back next week for another episode in the Google Data Studio realm, where we will be talking about the chart selection capabilities of Google Data Studio. So thank you very much for your time. See you next week.